Every once in a while, the NFL stops being just about playbooks, depth charts, and game plans. Every once in a while, it morphs into something bigger, a story so dramatic, so unpredictable, that it feels less like football and more like a season finale of a prestige drama. That's where the Cleveland Browns are right now. This team isn't just fighting opponents on the field. They're fighting themselves. Ownership, coaching staff, quarterbacks, and egos all colliding, all simmering, all boiling over in one of the most chaotic quarterback sagas the league has seen in years. And right at the heart of it, at the epicenter of this storm, stands a rookie who is never supposed to be here this soon, never supposed to carry this much weight, never supposed to dominate the headlines. But he's here, and he's not going anywhere. His name is Shedeur Sanders, and his rise is forcing the Browns to answer questions they never wanted to face. Think about this for a second. Just a few months ago, the storylines in Cleveland were predictable, boring even. You had Deshaun Watson trying to prove he was still the guy. You had Joe Flacco being trotted out as the steady veteran presence. You had Dillon Gabriel labeled as the developmental project, the quarterback of tomorrow, not today. Everything had its neat, tidy place on the shelf. But all of that has been thrown into chaos by Shedeur Sanders. He didn't ask to be the center of attention. He didn't scheme to be the franchise's focal point. But he's become the twist in the plot that nobody, not the fans, not the coaching staff, not even the owner, saw coming. And now, behind the scenes, word is spreading like wildfire. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of this team, has had enough of sitting back like a casual fan. He's not interested in sipping whiskey and letting the so-called experts dictate the direction anymore. He's stepping into the arena himself. Reports suggest that Haslam has made it clear Shedeur Sanders isn't just another young player to stash on the bench. He's not just a long-term experiment. He's the guy. And when an NFL owner goes from observer to shot caller, when he decides to flex his muscle, it's like flipping the ignition on a powder keg. On the other side of this brewing war is head coach Kevin Stefanski, a man who suddenly looks like he's coaching with a blindfold on. Stefanski and his staff are still clinging desperately to Joe Flacco, speaking in cliches about veteran leadership and stability. It's the same old coach speak we've all heard a million times before. But peel back the layers, and the truth is obvious. They weren't ready for Shedeur Sanders to blow up this fast. They didn't plan for this rookie to storm into the building and turn the entire franchise upside down. And now, instead of adapting, they're doubling down, trying to slow the tide with outdated talking points and a play-it-safe mentality. And then there's Dillon Gabriel. Man, you've got to feel for him. Not long ago, he was the hand-picked prospect, the staff's golden child, the future face of the team. The Browns invested in him, mapped out his trajectory, envisioned him as the heir to the throne. But Shedeur's rise has shattered that carefully laid plan. Gabriel isn't just losing reps in practice, he's losing the narrative of his entire career, in real time. You can see it in his body language on the sideline, hear it in the tension of his interviews, feel it in the subtle frustration when Shedeur gets roars of applause during warm-ups. Dillon Gabriel hasn't failed. He's simply been overtaken. And that reality is brutal, because once the fans get a taste of Shedeur's electricity, there's no going back. What we're watching now in Cleveland is nothing less than a civil war with three distinct factions. Ownership is demanding Shedeur now. The coaching staff is digging in, clinging to their timelines and egos, terrified of being proven wrong. And the quarterbacks themselves are caught in the crossfire, watching as their fates shift under their feet. The fans, meanwhile, are watching it all like it's a binge-worthy Netflix series, unable to look away, because they know this isn't just about who starts in Week 1. This is about something far more defining. This is about the very soul of the Browns as a franchise. So let's ask the question, who are the Cleveland Browns? Are they the team willing to gamble, to take a bold swing, to throw their chips on the table and build around a raw but undeniable star? Or are they the team that hides behind safe decisions, clinging to outdated hierarchies, too scared not that Shedeur will fail, but that he will succeed, and in doing so expose them all? That's the real fear. Not failure, success. Because Shedeur Sanders proving the coaches wrong means every excuse, every justification, every so-called plan evaporates overnight. Something's got to give. Either Kevin Stefanski swallows his pride and hands over the reins, or Jimmy Haslam forces his hand with an owner's hammer. Because if Shedeur doesn't get a shot soon, the fallout will be nuclear. The locker room will splinter. The fans will revolt. And the very first time the Browns lose a game with conservative, stale quarterback play, the outrage will detonate like dynamite. We've seen this story before across the league, and it never ends well for the team that ignores greatness when it's sitting right there in front of them. And make no mistake, the media is circling like vultures. Already, the whispers are turning into leaks. The anonymous sources close to the team are beginning to feed the fire. Once the press gets a whiff of blood in the water, this stops being a football story and becomes a power struggle. It's no longer about whether Shedeur Sanders is ready. It becomes about who really controls this team. Is it the coach? Is it the owner? Or is the entire hierarchy collapsing from inside out? Here's the truth that no one in the building dares say out loud. If Haslam forces Stefanski's hand, if Shedeur gets on that field and sparks something special, Stefanski's authority is finished. Maybe not with a dramatic firing that night, but in the slow, quiet erosion of influence. Because once an owner proves a coach wrong in front of the world, there's no recovering from that fracture. The staff's credibility evaporates, and from there, it's just a countdown clock until the next regime change. Meanwhile, Shedeur himself stands tall in the middle of this chaos. He's not begging for reps, he's not running to the media. He's not sulking, he's not lashing out. He's simply working, stacking throws, polishing his craft, letting his talent do all the talking. And that is what terrifies this coaching staff the most. Because when the guy being sidelined doesn't even complain, when he just keeps showing up and proving himself every single day, that's not just a rookie anymore. That's a revolution biding its time. And let's be honest here, the Browns are losing. And losing changes everything. Winning gives you cover. Winning buys you patience. Winning lets you hide behind development timelines and stability. But when you're losing, all of those excuses collapse in an instant. Fans don't want to hear about gradual growth curves. They don't care about calculated strategies. They want juice. They want energy. They want hope. And right now, Shedeur Sanders isn't just a quarterback. He's hope personified. So the clock is ticking in Cleveland. You either unleash him now, or you risk watching him take flight somewhere else. And if that happens, if Shedeur Sanders walks out of Cleveland and lights it up for another team, this franchise will fall right back into quarterback purgatory, haunted once again by the ghost of a star they let slip away. Another decade of what-ifs. Another chance wasted. That's why this saga matters so much. Because this isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. It's about the Browns standing at a crossroads with their future hanging in the balance. Do they have the courage to embrace the chaos, to take a bold gamble on a rising star? Or do they let fear, politics, and pride drag them right back into mediocrity? Make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders isn't just a player. He's the test. And the way Cleveland answers that test will define not just this season, but the next decade of their identity. Let me set the stage. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another rookie quarterback trying to fight his way up the depth chart. No, what he represents is far bigger than that. He's a spark, the kind of spark that doesn't just light a fire, it sets off an explosion. And when you've got something like that, the ripple effects spread everywhere. You can feel it in the building. Executives start whispering in the hallways. Coaches sit up straighter in their meetings. Even veteran quarterbacks glance over their shoulders, not because they're scared of competition, but because they're scared of losing their place in the story. That's what Shedeur Sanders does. He changes the conversation before he's even played it down. And the Cleveland Browns? They're caught right in the middle of this storm. They've tried to spin this as calm, as calculated, as though there's some master plan everyone should trust. They talk about Joe Flacco being the bridge. They talk about Dillon Gabriel being the project. They talk about Shedeur Sanders being the one they're slowly developing in the background. But let's be real, that's a facade. The fans see through it. They see what's happening on the field in real time, and they're not buying the story. Because every time Sanders uncorks a 40-yard missile in warm-ups while Flacco dumps it off short of the sticks on 3rd and 7, the groans from the crowd get louder. Every time Kevin Stefanski repeats his robotic, tight-lipped mantra about evaluating everyone equally, you can feel the cracks in trust widening. The patience is slipping away. And it's not just fans losing faith, it's media, it's local radio, it's the beat reporters sharpening their sarcasm with every press conference. The entire city feels like it's reaching a boiling point. And let's not pretend this is just a Cleveland issue. Around the league, people are talking. More than one defensive coordinator has been overheard asking the same thing. Why isn't Shedeur Sanders playing yet? When the opponents are looking at your roster and wondering why your most talented quarterback isn't on the field, that's not strategy. That's malpractice. That's the kind of decision that echoes beyond one season. Because Sanders is not just an option. He's not just some lottery ticket you stash away and maybe scratch years later. He's the moment. He's the lightning strike you don't see coming, the one that, if you grab it, can change everything for your franchise. And the Browns, instead of embracing it, are hesitating. They're standing at the edge of history and stalling. And you know what happens when you hesitate with greatness. Somebody else takes it, because lightning doesn't strike twice. Quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders, with his DNA, his mobility, his natural command of the game, his charisma, and his marketability, they don't just stand patiently in line. They don't sit quietly and wait their turn. That's not how icons are built. Icons are forged in fire, in pressure, in the moment. And if you don't give them that chance, they'll walk away and make history somewhere else. Here's what Cleveland refuses to admit. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need the Browns. He's already got the last name. He's already got the following. He's already got the game. If Cleveland wants to hide him as a preseason PR prop, I promise you there are 10 other franchises in this league who would open the door tomorrow. Coaches and owners in this league crave two things above all: a quarterback who sells tickets and a quarterback who throws darts. Sanders is already doing both, and he hasn't even played a meaningful down. That should terrify the Browns front office because the opportunity is sitting in their hands right now. So why are they waiting? Fear. That's what it comes down to. Stefanski and his staff aren't just afraid of making a mistake, they're afraid of being exposed. They know the second Sanders steps onto that field and takes off, the very next question will be, why didn't you trust him sooner? That question is coming whether they like it or not, and when it comes, there will be no excuse big enough to cover it up. And here's the thing, Sanders is going to touch the field. It might be through an injury. It might be through desperation. It might be through a moment of divine intervention where the coaches finally run out of reasons to hold him back. But when it happens, there's no going back. You don't bench a firestorm once it starts burning. You don't bottle lightning after it splits the sky. The second Sanders gets rolling, the stadium is going to rise with him. The city is going to believe. And the Browns won't just have a quarterback. They'll finally have an identity. That's the piece everyone is overlooking. This isn't just about week one. This isn't even about this season. This is about the future. This is about whether the Browns want to step into the modern NFL or remain stuck in outdated philosophies. Look around the league. The Bengals took the leap with Burrow. The Bills gambled on Josh Allen. The Chiefs handed the keys to Mahomes. None of those guys were considered ready. Each had critics. Each had doubters. But their franchises ignored the noise, handed them the keys, and the rest is history. Cleveland could be next, but only if they stop clutching fear and start embracing belief. And don't forget, this is Cleveland, a city scarred by decades of false hope, a fan base that's been battered, beaten down, and left waiting too long. These fans don't crave safe, they crave special. And special is standing on the sideline in number 5, launching missiles in warm-ups, while the coaching staff acts like they're terrified of what might happen if he actually succeeds. The fans can smell that fear. They can taste it. And you can only sell the "we're doing what's best for his development" line for so long before it stops sounding like wisdom and starts sounding like cowardice. Because from the outside, this doesn't look like development. It looks like denial. And if the Browns smother Shedeur Sanders in hesitation, if they waste him in the name of process, it won't just be a missed opportunity. It'll be an indictment of the entire organization. It'll be proof that even when handed a generational talent, the Browns still found a way to fumble it. So here's the decision. What's it going to be? You've got the arm. You've got the swagger. You've got the pedigree. You've got the future. But instead of leaning into it, you're hiding behind the process. News flash. Fans are done with the process. This isn't about waiting. This isn't about safety. This is about courage. This is about Shedeur Sanders. And the question is simple. Are you bold enough to put him in? Are you bold enough to let him lead? Or are you going to sit back, play it safe, and watch another franchise write the history that should have been yours? Because one way or another, this story is going to end. The only question is whether Shedeur Sanders ends up as Cleveland's savior or Cleveland's greatest regret.